The sharp scent of burning cedar mixes with the stale tang of cold sweat inside a cramped, windowless back room. Outside, rain drips relentlessly off the heavy wooden eaves of a quiet village near Nagasaki. The year is 1637. Night has fallen, but in Tokugawa, Japan, darkness brings no safety. You sit on the cold tatami floor, your legs numb, your pulse hammering in your throat. In front of you sits a small, pale porcelain figurine. To any Japanese official or nosy neighbor who might peek through a tear in the paper screen, it is merely Kannon, the Buddhist goddess of mercy. But in the flickering orange glow of a single rapeseed oil lamp, you trace the subtle, deliberate curve of her porcelain robe. Hidden beneath her draped sleeve, carved so faintly that only a desperate eye can catch it, is a tiny cross. You breathe out a whisper, not in Japanese, but in a garbled, secret dialect of Latinized Japanese that your grandfather taught you in absolute darkness. One wrong syllable, one sudden knock at the gate, and your entire family will be dragged to the sulfur pits of Mount Unzen. Popular history loves to paint the Edo period as a tranquil golden age of samurai honor, quiet tea gardens, elegant kimono, and poetic cherry blossoms. We imagine a peaceful, isolated island nation thriving in artistic harmony. But for thousands of ordinary peasants, fishermen, and local merchants, feudal Japan was not a tranquil sanctuary. It was a high-tech surveillance state, an ideological prison where believing in the wrong god meant excruciating, public execution. Following the bloody suppression of the Shimabara Rebellion in 1637, the Tokugawa Shogunate decided that Christianity was not just a foreign religion. It was a dangerous political virus that had to be eradicated down to the last root. You are a Kakure Kirishitan, a hidden Christian. Your faith is a death sentence, and every single evening is a quiet game of Russian roulette. Your day ends not with rest, but with exhausting paranoia. Before you can even think of praying, you must execute a strict ritual of domestic security. You check the wooden shutters twice. You step lightly across the floorboards, avoiding the ones you know will squeak. In Tokugawa, Japan, the shogunate does not rely merely on armed samurai to catch dissidents. They use a system called the gonin yumi, or 5 household groups. 5 neighboring families are held collectively responsible for each other. If your neighbor secretly prays to Jesus and you fail to report him, you, your spouse, your children, and your elderly parents will all be executed alongside him. The shogunate offers massive cash rewards for informers, turning every friend, customer, and brother-in-law into a potential government asset. Trust is a luxury you simply cannot afford. Your physical environment is stripped of anything remotely suspicious. The Portuguese missionaries who converted your ancestors are long gone, either expelled, crucified, or forced to renounce their faith under brutal torture. There are no Latin Bibles left in your home. Possessing a single page of Western script is enough to get you boiled alive. Instead, your faith exists entirely in disguise. The holy water you use is hidden inside a mundane bamboo sake flask. Your rosary beads are disguised as a standard Buddhist counting chain. The hymns you sing have been stripped of their original Portuguese and Latin melodies, altered to sound like traditional Japanese folk chants, so that anyone walking past your hut hears only a peasant humming after a long day in the rice fields. You gather your family in a tight circle, leaning in so close that your foreheads nearly touch. You speak in hushed tones, instructing your youngest child to keep his eyes on the floor. Teaching a child the secret faith is the most dangerous task of all. A 6-year-old does not understand political subversion. If he casually mentions a strange song or a white porcelain lady to his playmates tomorrow morning, local officials will descend upon your house before noon. The psychological weight resting on your shoulders is crushing. You are forcing your own flesh and blood to live a double life, teaching them that survival requires lying to everyone outside your immediate walls. The true nightmare of your existence, however, comes with the annual ritual known as Fumi-e. Imagine a crisp morning where every resident of the district is ordered to line up in the village square. In front of a stern samurai magistrate sits a bronze or wooden panel bearing the raised image of Jesus Christ or the Virgin Mary. To prove your loyalty to the shogun, you must step barefoot onto the holy face. For a devout believer, this is not a simple physical act. It is an agonizing spiritual betrayal, a ticket to eternal damnation. Yet, if you hesitate, if your toes twitch, if a single tear rolls down your cheek, or if you show even a moment of reluctance, the guards step forward. If you fail the stepping test, the darkness of Tokugawa justice swallows you whole. You are not simply thrown into a cell. The shogunate perfected techniques of physical and mental torture designed specifically to force apostasy rather than immediate martyrdom. They hang believers upside down in deep pit latrines, cutting small slits behind their ears to slow down blood pressure, so they remain conscious for days in filth and darkness. They march families up the slopes of active volcanoes, stripping them naked and pouring boiling, sulfurous water over their bare skin until they scream for mercy. The goal is to break your soul, to force you to denounce your God in front of the entire community. Sitting on your floor in the dead of night, you are haunted by those who broke, and even more haunted by those who did not. You look at your children eating their meager meal of cold millet and pickled radish, and you realize that your life belongs entirely to the state. The shogun owns your body, your land, your labor, and your silence. The only thing he does not own is the silent prayer echoing inside your chest. You bury your religious artifacts back under the loose floorboard beneath the hearth, scatter some ash over the wooden panel, and blow out the lamp. You lie down on your thin futon in complete darkness, listening to the rain, knowing that tomorrow morning you must put on your mask once again. We often remember history through the grand stories of victorious warlords, magnificent castles, and decisive battles. But the real engine of human history is driven by the quiet resilience of ordinary people who refuse to let their identity be erased by absolute power. The hidden Christians of Japan lived in total secrecy for over 2 centuries, passing down their traditions, prayers, and disguised art through 7 generations without priests, churches, or written texts. They survived in the shadows, quietly outlasting the samurai class and the very empire that sought to destroy them. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark corners of history, hit subscribe to Past Legacy for more stories every week. Drop a comment below, and share this video to help us bring the hidden realities of the past back into the light.